Të dashur teleshikues të televizionit të shqiptarëve të Amerikës, është kënaqësi që në gjirin ton të kemi bashkëdhetar si puna e Robert Lulgjuraj, të lindur e të rritur këtu në Shtetet e Bashkuara, që janë pjesë e qeverisjes amerikane, që janë pjesë e drejtësisë amerikane. Roberti është prokuror në Wayne County. Ne e kemi intervistuar atë gati një vit më parë, por përfitojmë sërish tani ta kemi në emisionin ton për të pyetur mbi mbarvajtjen e punës së tij, por edhe për problematikat e ndryshme të krimit që hasen në ditët e sotme, si në Shtetet e Bashkuara të Amerikës në përgjithësi, por edhe në Wayne County, në të cilën ai shërben. It's a pleasure to be again together here in the studio with you, Robert. It's very pleasure for me, in the name of the Albanian audience, to have an Albanian working as a prosecutor in Wayne County and doing a good job, as we heard, fighting the crime all over the United States, because I tried some time to communicate with you. You were with job in another states, but that's your job. So it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to discuss with an Albanian that represents our community in a good light, let's say, that tells to all the Americans that what Albanians are, not all the small businessmen owners, but also integrated in the American way of life.
Thank you for having me on the show. I always enjoy speaking with you, and pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure too. That's why I invited you so many times. Okay, I know that you are busy, but you are busy doing something important, I heard. You was giving the commencement at your college. It's the first time I've heard that an Albanian guy, I have heard, maybe someone has given a commencement to the future students. Tell us about such experience.
Yes, Raphael, I had the honor, huge privilege, to be invited as the alumni commencement address speaker at my alma mater, the college I graduated from, Holy Cross College in Notre Dame, Indiana. I went to school there for 4 years. Catholic education, huge part of my life. And so I went to Brother Rice High School, and then I went to Holy Cross College, and I wanted to continue that Catholic education. And so I was a student body president when I was there, Raphael, and my brother graduated from there. And so they asked me to give the commencement address, and it was a huge honor for my family. They were in attendance, and to be able to hear me give the address, but also my brother walk the stage and receive his college degree, it was phenomenal. And my brother now, he's actually at Notre Dame. He's getting his Master's of Education, so he wants to become a teacher and a coach. And then my sister, she's at Michigan State. She's going to graduate in May, and she wants to be a teacher and a coach as well. They want to go back to their Catholic high schools and coach and teach. And so, me being
That's a good example of a family giving everything just for your education, so just in different fields, so depending from what are your priorities as a student. So that's a good example. That's a good example that need to be shared with the Albanian audience. Now I ask a question. What was the sentence that has been your tagline?
Yeah, so the message was centered on, at the commencement, was God, family, and country, and those three pillars. And that's how I really try to live my life. And so I wanted to express that to the graduates. And so with God, God has to be at the epicenter of your life. Us being Albanian, Raphael, we're religious people. We very close to our faith. And so, you need God to guide you. You need to have faith in God to watch over you. And then being close to your family, right? So many of these graduates, like Albanians, Raphael, their parents sacrifice for them, working hard jobs, labor jobs, the night shift, even 2 jobs. And a lot of these graduates, and even Albanians in America, they sacrifice their lives and their future and their dreams for their children. And so I wanted the graduates to recognize that you haven't gotten here alone, and your family has propped you up on their shoulders so you could achieve success. And for many people, including my family, I know that these graduates, their parents, wanted all the doors that were closed for them to be open for their children. And so the fact that they get to walk across that stage and receive their college degree is a huge honor. And so, I asked them to be grateful to their family. And then with God on your side, Raphael, with the support of your family, you having a college degree and then being in the United States, huge. Right?
How was accepted from the audience there, from the young students? And I think it would be better accepted from the families than for the students themselves, or it was different, so it's my opinion.
I think it was well received, right? I mean, it's always an important reminder when you're so busy with your day-to-day college classes and graduating and moving on to the next portion of your life, like realizing that, hey, it really sometimes takes a village to raise an individual. And so I told the students, look, you're college educated, you have your family support, and you live in America. And because you live in the United States, you have an opportunity to achieve whatever heights you so desire. Because in other parts of the world, and we know where we come from, you're limited by the circumstances of your birth. You're limited by the family you're born into. If you're not born into wealth or you're not born into power, then you're likely going to do the same vocation or job as your family did. And so when you're in America, as long as your work ethic and talent will take you, Raphael, you can go as far as you would like. And so that's really what makes America special and what makes America different from many parts of the world. And so I think that was well received by the graduate.
What is your opinion how we can fight crime in the right way in order America to be America?
So there's a lot of factors, Raphael, that contribute to an increase in crime.
That's why I have you here.
So at first, it starts with personal responsibility, I think. So the way you're raised, your upbringing, the role models you have in your household, I think that's the initiation of somebody's growth as an adult. And then you parlay that with the type of people that you surround yourself with, the friends that you have, and the decisions that you make as part of that. And so there's a social aspect of it, there's a family aspect of it, and that has to be strong. And then there's a law enforcement side of it. And so prosecutors have a role to deter crime. And your first priority, and I know it's always my first priority, is victims of crime and making sure that victims at the forefront of your mind to make sure that they get justice. And so this is not a banana republic. The United States, Raphael. In America, the law should be implemented equitably to everyone. And whether you're a public official or you're a poor person, the crime or the laws should be enforced equally to everybody, okay? And so
that's how it should be.
Sure.
But it's not always like that.
Correct.
In English exists the word that you steal a bike and you go to jail, you steal the train and you steal a train and you are not condemned.
Well, you need people of character and all levers of government. That's the biggest thing, right, Raphael? And so prosecutors should, when prosecutors prosecute crime, it's important to do so because it deters criminals from wanting to further commit crimes because they know somebody's going to hold them accountable.
But we have seen prosecutors in some other states, or even here in Michigan, that they are with the light hand prosecuting the crime, thinking that is a small crime, doesn't need to be condemned, and the criminals go and come back after they sign papers from the jail, and they are going back on the roads and committing other crimes.
And Raphael, you can't selectively, prosecutors shouldn't selectively prosecute which statutes they want to prosecute. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in America we have something called the separation of powers.
Yes.
the executive branch, the judicial branch, the legislative branch. And each branch is supposed to stay within those purviews. And so when you have a prosecutor that picks and chooses which laws they like and they don't like, then they're outside the bounds of their oath of office, because now they're acting like a legislature. And if you want to make the laws, then run for public office. And you can craft whichever laws that you believe are best for public policy. But when you're in an executive role, you're supposed to enforce the laws of this land and enforce them equally to every man and woman that's in the country. And so when you have prosecutors that are not equally prosecuting crime, Raphael, it creates a separation of powers issues. And it's important to keep that equilibrium.
Can you give examples of in ordinary life from your practice, how you execute the law?
Sure, Raphael. So I make sure that I'm on top of all my cases. Okay. Being a prosecutor, especially in Wayne County, we have over 60% of the crime in the United States happens in Wayne County. And so I'm a circuit court prosecutor. I prosecute just felonies, a lot of which tend to be violent felonies. And so when I have victims of crimes, they're the most important person to me, Raphael, and they have rights too. And they need to be present at court hearings and make sure that they're present at sentencings and parole hearings. And so I make it my duty and my obligation when I wake up in the morning to make sure that all the victims get the justice that they deserve. And then, Raphael, I've seen, well, obviously we have a mental health issue in this country.
Yeah, I want to discuss that.
And then we have a drug issue. And sometimes both of those intervene with each other. And so the drug pandemic or epidemic is severe. I've had cases where people are selling heroin, cocaine, and
fentanyl.
Fentanyl is the biggest one, Raphael. It's so dangerous. It's so potent. Since 2018, we've had over 250,000 people die from fentanyl.
I've seen tremendous scenes on the news of parents losing their 14, 16-year-old son or daughter due to fentanyl. And how we can stop this epidemic.
It's sad, Raphael. I mean, you can fill football stadiums full of people that have died from fentanyl. They say a majority of it comes from China, India, Mexico, and it's even a small amount of fentanyl can kill a large amount of people. And so it's more lucrative for drug dealers to use fentanyl.
Or lace with fentanyl.
Or lace a lot of drugs with fentanyl. It's highly addictive. I mean, most of it's used for people that have cancer and to use it for, painkiller for cancer treatment. And so some people that are taking drugs, Raphael, they don't even realize that the drug is laced with fentanyl, difference. And they pass away.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You are Albanian. Have you persecuted Albanians in the court of law?
So I have prosecuted Albanians, both male and female. I've had Albanians that I prosecuted that were ultimately sentenced to a prison sentence. And I've had many cases where I've had an Albanian victim or Albanian victims on cases. And so I think it's up to Albanian Americans to make a decision for their life. Which side of the law do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side of legality, or do you want to be on the side of criminality?
Okay, it was for drug use, it was for what kind of crime?
So the one case is now it's public, Raphael, but it was a drug case.
Does exist the Albanian mafia in the United States?
Well, I mean, Albanians there's been Albanians that have been prosecuted for being part of criminal enterprises, and we know that, and people in the community know that, and They've had that in various parts of the country, New York, Chicago, a lot of the major cities where Albanians reside. Albanians have criminal organizations, back home in the homeland. And so we've seen prosecutors' offices across the country. We've seen the United States, we've seen international courts, people that have gone after Albanians for engaging in these criminal organization enterprises. And I know a lot of us here in Michigan, Raphael, we hope that the rule of law will always rise to the top, because we want Albania and Kosovo and Malsor and Malsi, to those regions of Albanians. We want to see Albanians do well. We want to see them engage in commerce. We want to see them live in stability. And when you have the rule of law and it's equally applied, then we see Albanians do well and engage in commerce and engage in the world and engage in globalism. And so I think the rule of law is the biggest lever for people to succeed, and Albanians to succeed in the world.
All this, you mentioned the branches of power of the United States of America all over. But we mentioned the power of legislators, the law, and so on, the executive powers. All these are combined in the American Constitution.
Yep.
American Constitution is 200 years old or more, but still creates the base why America is different from the other countries, creates the base why United States of America is the country of liberty. And how do you evaluate this unique constitution that gives liberty, the power of liberty that makes people achieve their American dream?
Well, this is why we immigrated to the United States in search of the American dream. And a huge part of the founding of America is the Constitution. And it's the greatest political document ever written. It crafts certain inalienable rights given to every individual that can't be taken away from you. And these are rights, Raphael, that the founding fathers knew that didn't come from man. These are rights that come from God, and it's government's duty to protect those rights. These laws, these values in the Constitution are derived from what we call the natural law, or laws of nature. In many parts of the world, Raphael, countries have tried to copy America's Constitution or put it into effect. But America is really the first country to implement a constitution where it tells the government what they can't do. And in many parts of the world, a lot of countries tell the people what they can't do. And so that reversal was pretty impressive. And that's why we have the separation of powers. That's why we have the first 10 amendments are known as the Bill of Rights, the separation of powers, and it's a really amazing document, and it when it's applied like it's supposed to and protects individuals, it allows a lot of prosperity to occur in a country. And I think that's why America has evolved the way it has.
Two of these principles of the American Constitution, like the right to speak freely, the First Amendment, and the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, nowadays are in the ordinary politics between the two parties, are fighting in a certain way, are hidden under another way of wording the laws, but at the base of that, they are removing one of the rights. For example, talking about the right to bear arms. Not every country has the right to bear arms, but that's a way how America made government to fear people if they don't behave with the spirit of liberty. How you judge certain Democrat government or governors or policies trying to reduce the right to bear arms?
So those first 10 amendments, Raphael, are crucial. And when you look at the First Amendment, if a law is passed that's unconstitutional from the legislative branch, then we have the judicial branch there to strike that law down and say, hey, this is not constitutional. You need to go in the Supreme Court, right? And you need to go back to the drawing board and you need to craft a statute or law that doesn't violate the Constitution. And so I think the founding fathers were ingenious in this because they didn't want power to coalesce just in one branch, not with a monarchy, not with the king, not with a communist president. And so when you have all these levers of government holding each other accountable, we make sure that your liberty is still there. And so when you look at the First Amendment, like you said, freedom of press, the fact that we have the opportunity here to sit here and conduct an interview, that's protected under the First Amendment. Freedom of association, freedom of press, freedom to lodge grievances and petitions against your government. Very few places in the world that you have the opportunity to do that. Then you have the free exercise clause, that you have the opportunity to practice your faith. And a lot of people have come to this country just so they could practice their faith. And so then you have the Second Amendment, right? The right to keep and bear arms. Obviously, you can't be a felon and carry a weapon, but that's a right that the Supreme Court has upheld.
So even you cannot be drug addicted to carry a gun.
Sure. So if you have a felony and you have drug charges or drug convictions as a felon, yeah, you don't have the ability to carry a gun. And further with the amendments, Raphael, if I could just finish. Fourth Amendment, which I deal a lot with in my profession, you have the ability to be free from searches and seizures in your on your person, on or about your person, and in your home. And the only way a governmental agent can come with a warrant upon probable cause. And then we have our Fifth and Sixth Amendments, free and speedy and fair trial. You get to go to trial with an impartial jury judging you. You have the ability to have legal counsel. And then you have the ability not to testify against yourself, Raphael, or produce evidence against yourself. And
I want to stop on this. Let's take a small violation of traffic violation. So if the policeman ask me, have you done this? Well, I cannot not respond to him. I want to defend myself. I'm doing right?
Sure. So I guess if you're asking just a general proposition, do you have to speak with law enforcement officials?
Yes.
No, you don't, unless there's other circumstances that deem that you have to speak with them. But if you're just walking on the sidewalk and another governmental agent is walking at the other end, you have the ability to walk right past them if there's no probable cause, if they don't believe that you've committed a crime or about to.
Yeah, but can I defend myself? Don't telling what I did by mistake or by...
Correct, yeah. You have the right to remain silent. Yeah. You have the right not to cooperate with a criminal investigation. You have the right to ask for an attorney. But you have to unequivocally ask for legal counsel. And look, I think the Founding Fathers put these values in place and these amendments in place because when they were under the control of the monarchy, they would have to house soldiers. The British monarchy would enter their homes, would search them. They had no right to petition their government or speak ill of their government. They had no right to defend themselves. And so all these Bill of Rights really derive from not allowing a monarchy or a king to completely suffocate your ability to live as a free person. And so a lot of these Founding Fathers had these instances where they were affected this way, and that's why they crafted, I think, the Bill of Rights the way they did. And then we have the 10th Amendment, Raphael. I mean, the federal government, if there's a particular right in the Constitution the 10th Amendment says then those rights that are delineated to the federal government, they'll carry those out, their obligations out. But if it's not a right that's particularly stated in the Constitution, it's reserved to the states and it's reserved to the people.
Yeah, that's the unique for United States.
Unique.
It's very unique because the way how United States are constituted. I have a question that has to do with the illegal immigration. We've seen a lot of people coming from the southern border illegally. And does it create a risk for increase of the level of crime in the country where the illegals are sent to?
Well, I've had cases where American citizens have committed crime, and then people that don't have documentation that don't commit crime. And I've worked with FBI, DEA, ATF, Michigan State Police, Detroit Police Department, different various law enforcement agencies, Raphael. And so when they have had somebody that's not documented commit a heinous crime, Raphael, I've had cases where that individual has been deported. And so, whether you're an immigrant or you were born in this country or you're non-documented, no one's immune from breaking the law, and that's a deliberate choice that individual makes, and they're going to face the repercussions and consequences thereafter. But we know my family, your family, a lot of the Albanians that inhabit this region.
We came legally.
Yeah, we're God-fearing. We love this country, and we follow the rules, and we all came legally to this country. And so I think there's something to be said when people take the onus on themselves to follow the law and be productive citizens and come here legally, but also earn a wage for your family legally. And
you mentioned that you are a prosecutor in Wayne.
Correct.
You mentioned a high level of criminality. Is due to Detroit or to neighboring areas?
So Wayne County is the biggest population center, Raphael. Detroit is the biggest population center. And so southeastern Michigan, if you look compared to the rest of the counties, there's a lot of rural counties in Michigan. And so just by virtue of that population, you're going to have a high amount of crime that's committed in that population center. So, but Wayne County is by far the biggest county we have. Wayne County has the most cities. I think there's 47 jurisdictions in Wayne County, Detroit being the biggest. And Wayne County prosecutors, I'm a trial lawyer. Most of the prosecutors, they're trial lawyers. The best trial lawyers do come out of Wayne County because of the volume of cases that you're prosecuting.
You see. Can you tell if it is not on the process a hideous crime that happens that you discovered? Just a story. We need to share a story that now it's resolved, so it's been condemned.
Raphael,
if you can share.
Yeah, I've had such a high volume of crime. I've done everything from assault with intent to murder. I've done shooting cases. I've had carjackings. I've had bank robberies. I've had armed robberies, carjackings, drug cases, people possessing drugs, people selling drugs, the whole gamut of crimes, Raphael.
Liberating marijuana has been good for selling drugs, or has been good for fighting the crime, or it's the same?
So I've always prosecuted felonies, and so I think that legislation was passed before I became an attorney, and so I've never had any of those cases. I've never had to prosecute.
No. The problem is nowadays that is liberated, that it's free to go and take and smoke marijuana. Is this lowered the level of criminality, or is the same?
So maybe in the misdemeanor courts, maybe in the district courts, maybe there's less cases being processed through. I'm not sure what the numbers would be on that, Raphael. I still have my volume of cases.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, just it was my curiosity.
Look, I mean, best advice, personal advice you can give family and friends. There's a lot of substances that are legal.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you personally. And so in America, you can eat as much ice cream as you want. You can have as much alcohol as you want in your home or smoke marijuana, but you have to make a choice. What type of lifestyle do you want for yourself? And even we see prescription drugs, right?
Yes.
Overprescribing of prescription drugs can lead to you being hooked on drugs. And so everything should be taken into small volume, right? You don't want to inject yourself with tons of substance.
And just closing with like a general advice to the Albanian youth here, friend of yours, of mine, Albanians, younger age, what they had to do to be away from crime.
Well, raising your children is huge, the right way. Speaking to your children, being involved in their life. A lot of it, your first school and your first education comes in the household. And that's why Albanians really are so committed to our families and to our children and to our household. And then for those people that are religious, your houses of worship, your faith foundation, that's going to guide you and help you persevere in life. And then friends, Raphael, huge part of it. Something that I tell my siblings, something I tell my cousins: surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with people that have a good moral compass, because you don't want to get in the crosshairs of criminality. And then we live in the greatest country in the world. There's a reason why we had to come to the United States. We were really forced out of our homeland through religious persecution, communism, lack of economic opportunity. And so now we've embedded ourselves in the American culture. We've embedded ourselves in America. And we need to make sure that we keep, because we have great values. Being Albanian is such a proud thing, Raphael.
Yeah, we have great values for the family.
Absolutely.
Just defending the family. One of the reason of the recent crime has been mentioned on the news is the fact that the missing of the father figure in the family. In some families, that parents are divorced, so there is not the father figure at that family that makes all the kids just being addicted or going to crime and so on.
Well, and staying away from drugs. Graduating high school and not having a child out of wedlock or before you're married. There are studies that say if you can quantify all three of those, then your chances of not living below the poverty line is pretty high. And so making good decisions to take care of yourself is really crucial. And look, I mean, we just see this painting that's behind you, Raphael. This is, I assume it's New York City, but there's a lot of cities that look like this in America. And when I see this picture, I just see opportunity. I see economic opportunity. I see social opportunity. And there's no other country that you have the opportunity, protected by the Constitution, those rights that we talked about, that you can engage in commerce and you can engage in whatever you want in life, and you can follow your vocation and you can stay close to your family and your faith, and you can become whatever you want in America. And it's people like your generation and my grandparents that sacrificed so that I could sit here today and have this honor of interviewing with you, because they sacrificed so their kids and their grandkids could be better than them. And that's the way that the Albanian Americans are soaring. And I'm excited to see where the next generation goes, Raphael.
I wanted to discuss with you an event that happened recently in New York. A policeman, an American police, killed his wife and two little children. No reason. That has to do with a mentally ill crisis that we have in the United States. This is related because we have closed the hospitals that cure the mental disease?
Huge. So I don't know the particulars of that case, but it sounds, from what you're describing, Raphael, sounds like a mental health issue or episode. Happens across this country every day. Very sad. Maybe it was a domestic situation, domestic violence, sad situation. When you know domestic violence is occurring, you see something, say something. You know people affected by domestic violence. There's resources out there. There's numbers, and so getting ahead of that curve, stopping it, preventing it, that's a huge part of it. And so, the legislature, these individuals that are into crafting policy, Raphael, they have to get a hold of this mental health issue, because it's just going to continue to stagnate.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for being with us. Të dashur teleshikues të televizionit të shqiptarëve të Amerikës, ne këtu I dham fund emisionit ton Argument me prokurorin e Wayne County, Robert Lulgjuraj, në cilin trajtuan problemet e krimit në jetën e përditshme, rrugët se si duhet luftohen dhe përvojat e eksperiencës së tij. Miru takofshim në emisionet të tjera. Faleminderit.
Natën e mirët, Raphael, thank you.
Faleminderit.
Thank you.